when we talked about the Kabbalistic trees of life, and when you can lay the cards out, we said that there's a correspondence between the priestess on the second Sephiroth of Chokmah, and on the second tree there'd be the card Death, 13th card, and so that in some way suggests that there may be a correspondence with those cards. I think there is one. First of all, those cards are both water cards, and the Death card, being ruled by the planet Pluto, is certainly connected to this cleansing, healing, purging, purgation, you know, mortificatio energy. So it's not a million miles away from the priestess, because she's about flushing, she's about detoxification and deep cleansing, that relinquishment, that abnegation, that abstention that we've just talked about, the letting go of things as opposed to accumulation. But I don't just mean that physically, I also mean that psychologically. There's a psychological divestiture, there's the psychological deconstruction that's also very needed, and it's also very lacking in our society today. Everything is cleaned, the front yard is cleaned, the bed is made, you know, the dishes are washed, but the mind is dirty, the emotions are filthy. What's that all about? What about psychic hygiene? The ancient Greeks knew about it, hygeia. It was necessary before you could have any kind of development spiritually. What's wrong with us? We're all about accumulating and getting and having and attaining. Where's that fallow field? But this card is saying that by the time it falls in a person's chart, that person may now actually be feeling sullied. That's the whole point. It might not be something unspoken. They may actually be feeling the symptoms of it, maybe not able to rationally explain it, but something that they're feeling is not right. Something's off. I feel dirty, I feel toxic, I feel sullied, I feel prostituted. What's going on? Maladies and phobias may be coming to the surface, sexual hang-ups, and a feeling of deviance, all of which can be easily handled by just simply returning to nature, getting out there and looking at the ocean, the water, being with animals. But by being amongst the human, dross, a point comes when we sort of maxed out and we feel that we need a fallow period, and that's what this card represents. Because as we've been saying all along, behind the great action of life, and you can think of that as human action, or you can think of it as the creation itself, the buzzing of the atoms, the after effects of the Big Bang, whatever you want to think about. Our world is buzzing like some LSD trip, but somewhere in the middle of all of that is that still point. Somewhere behind it is that noumenal, pre-rational, inexpressible, undefinable stillness. And as a matter of fact, that noumenal state, again I'm sort of saying it in the Kantian way, that unknowable something behind the appearances and the representations is actually spoken of in the Hermetic tradition. Jacob Boehme, the German mystic, spoke of it. He was speaking of it in a sort of a theosophical way, in which he was speaking about that in order for the creation to come into being, God, whatever God is, retracted himself, closed in on himself, and therefore left a sort of a space for the other to be born. Right? For creation to be born, there's actually a sucking of God's energy into himself to make a space, a living creative space for the creation to come about. In other words, to create that creative emptiness that is so lacking in everybody's life. And the message that you get out of reading Boehme and other mystics of this kind is that, look, unless we do the same thing, maybe spiritual advancement is an illusion. Because if you look around at the world of all this accumulation and I must have and all of that, and God, please give me what I need, and all of this other aggressive, acquisitive stuff, maybe that's the wrong concept altogether. And maybe there's this whole other kind of creative emptiness that this card is encapsulating. Along the same lines, let's just understand that the word holy, holiness, is synonymous with wholeness, right? The holy person is the whole person, complete. Well, you can't be whole if you're seeing life in a fragmented and biased manner. Or you're trying to live in some one-season world like 99.9% 99% of the New Age people in the New Age movement aren't, can you? Or as we said earlier, if you're negating the past and only living for the now or the future, and you can't be too in the future either. You know, you can't be too lost in the past, and you can't be too lost in the future. Where's that wholeness? Where's that equanimity? You can't run around in a one-season world just editing reality just because, you know, you don't like what you see. Then what you're doing is you have an idea of reality. You're not actually seeing reality one-to-one, sheer as for what it is, so that that reality then can teach you what it needs to teach you. That's why you're here on this planet. That's why you've incarnated here. But if you just be editing because, oh, I don't like that part and I don't want to deal with that. Well, what's wholesome about that? What's holistic about that? You know, you are meant to study the lessons of the past. I mean, I shouldn't even have to explain that. You should be able to look at the darker aspects of existence. Explain to me why you shouldn't do that. You're not meant to edit and avoid reality.